Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking a real deep dive into the hidden rules that literally dictate every single price tag you see. You know, whether it's your morning iced matcha or that brand new electric car you've been eyeing, there's this fascinating, totally invisible engine running behind the scenes deciding exactly what you're going to pay. And in this explainer, we aren't just looking at the surface, right? We are tearing down that engine to completely demystify the core mechanics of market equilibrium and surplus.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for the journey today. First up, shifting supply and demand. Second, calculating market equilibrium. Third, the real-world math. And finally, we'll wrap up by defining both consumer and producer surplus.
All right, jumping right into Section 1, shifting supply and demand, the macro rules. So before we get into the heavy math, we really need to understand the fundamental push and pull to the market. When both sides of the market change at the exact same time, opposing forces always leave one variable completely uncertain. Instead of messy line graphs, this table beautifully illustrates the four core scenarios. For example, think about your local farmer's market. If suddenly everyone wants organic strawberries, so demand rises, and a massive harvest floods the market with them, meaning supply also rises, we know for a fact the total quantity sold is going to skyrocket. But the price? Honestly, that's totally uncertain. It completely depends on which surge was stronger. One force is always pulling against the other.
Let's keep moving and zoom in a bit. Sections 2 and 3, calculating market equilibrium and the real-world math.
Okay, let's bring this abstract concept to life with a real-world application. We're looking at the market for premium wireless headphones here. On the left, our demand equation captures consumer desire. Basically, as the price goes up, the number of people willing to buy these headphones naturally drops. On the right, the supply equation represents the manufacturers, and as you'd expect, as the price goes up, makers are highly incentivized to produce more. So these two opposing forces, they are on an absolute collision course.
But wait, let's actually do the math. To find the market equilibrium, that exact sweet spot where buyers and sellers completely agree, we just set the two equations equal to each other. It's kind of like solving a mystery to find where the market clears. First, we just group our numbers, and by isolating that price variable, we uncover the exact dollar amount that perfectly balances the market.
And boom, there it is, $100. That's our equilibrium price. And if we take that $100 and plug it right back into our original formulas, we get a quantity of 1,500. What that means is, at exactly $100, exactly 1,500 pairs of headphones will be manufactured, and every single one of those 1,500 pairs will be happily bought. It's just pure market harmony.
But hey, markets are never truly static, right? They're always moving. So what happens if supply shifts? I want you to imagine a scenario where a massive new manufacturing breakthrough in microchips suddenly makes it way easier and cheaper to build these wireless headphones. All of a sudden, the factories can pump out way more units than before at any given price point.
Let's see how this builds. We just update our math with this brand new, higher supply baseline, and we set it equal to our original, unchanged demand. We're following the exact same logical steps as before here. We just balance the new equation to find our new reality.
And look at that. We arrive at our new equilibrium, $80 with a new, higher quantity of 1,600 pairs. Tie this right back to that macro rule table we saw earlier. When demand is stable but supply rises, price falls and quantity rises. We just proved that abstract macro theory with hard, undeniable math. Pretty cool, right?
Now zooming back out for sections 4 and 5, defining consumer and producer surplus.
So who really wins when money changes hands? That's really the ultimate philosophical question of economics. Surplus is basically just the academic term for the invisible value or the hidden gain that gets created out of thin air in a market transaction. And we can split this invisible win into two totally distinct perspectives. You've got the buyer side, which is consumer surplus, and the seller side, which is producer surplus. The secret here is that both sides are actually getting a deal, even if they don't consciously realize it.
Let's start with us, the buyers. Consumer surplus is the difference between the absolute maximum a consumer is willing to pay for a good and the amount they actually paid at equilibrium. So, the crucial point is, this is really about that personal thrill. It's the joy of keeping money in your pocket that you were entirely ready, willing, and able to spend.
The quote here perfectly grounds this in reality. I was totally ready to drop $150 on these headphones, but I only paid $100. You have definitely felt this in your own life. Imagine you were completely prepared to drop, say, $300 on tickets to see your absolute favorite band, but when you logged on, they were only $200. The concert venue doesn't literally hand you a $100 bill, but you just generated $100 of pure and visible consumer surplus. It's that universal human experience of getting an absolute steal.
Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is looking at the flip side. Sellers experience a hidden win too. Producer surplus is the difference between the absolute minimum a producer was willing to accept to sell their good and the amount they actually received from the market.
Just like the consumer, the business gets a thrill. The quote reads, "We would have been happy selling these for $75, but the market gave us $100. Think of, say, a custom furniture maker who would have happily accepted $500 for a handcrafted table just to cover their time and materials, but the market rate allows them to charge $800. That extra $300 represents an incredible profit margin they achieved simply because the market equilibrium settled higher than their minimum viable price. Both sides walk away richer.
And you know, that is the true magic of market mechanics. The shifting forces of supply and demand don't just dictate some cold hard number on a price tag, they actually dictate the size of the invisible wins for everyone involved. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. The next time you buy or sell something, I challenge you to look past the receipt. Ask yourself, who is really walking away with the bigger invisible surplus here? Keep that question in mind, and I promise you, you'll never look at a transaction the exact same way again. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.